Hello again. Back with another video on templating boat seats. The first video that I had a boat seat that was completely flat. There was no difference in height in the foam. Finally got a pontoon in that has some seats that I can kind of show you the templating process on how to do that with the seats that have the bolster or something where the foam is two different heights on it. As you can see, these are the old covers. This one's pretty bad. I did end up having to do some foam repair on this one. This one wasn't too bad. You can see the design on that one. This one is obviously a straight cushion with a bolster that is originally probably 1 inch high. And this one here, we have a curved cushion with the inside kind of portion, the inside curve is the bolster that is probably originally also 1 inch high. So on the straight cushion, it's pretty easy. When you're doing this and you've got your patterning material put on here, I use pins and I use a Sharpie to draw it out. I'm also using Durascrim fabric. Generally, if you're using, new foam, or you've just made a cushion, that's easy to template because you got nice sharp corners. The foam's brand new. It's not, pushed down or, having a problem in any areas. But when you're reupholstering a boat seat, generally this is what you get. Sometimes it kind of varies on the quality of the foam when you're reupholstering it. So that is one of the reasons why I go back and I pattern the foam directly. Because when these were, made new from the factory, they have the templates from everything when the foam was new, not when it's, decompressed. And if I was to use the old pattern or the old cover as a pattern, sometimes you can get some voids and some places where it just doesn't fit right because the foam is compressed behind it. It just doesn't really look right. So anyway, on the straight piece, you can pretty much just, fold this over and you can get a nice, clean line coming across over here. But when you get to the corners, this is no longer 1 inch high. So what I usually will do is I will taper the taller piece back on both sides, and I'll bring you in close and show you what that means. Now this is what I mean by tapering it off. This piece here is the taller foam and this is the shorter one. So when I get close to the corner where they're all meet, I've got a pretty good gap in there in my template. So that way when the fabric gets sewn together and the cover gets put on, these two pieces will meet and it will pull the cover down nice and tight to make sure that there's no voids anywhere here in the corner. Now, unfortunately, there's really no, set rule to how much, to kind of, short the fabric here. It really all depends on, how bad the foam is degraded or, compressed, as to how much I do that. Sometimes I come in here about 1 inch, sometimes it's 2 inches, sometimes I short it, 3/4 of an inch, sometimes it's 1 inch. It really all depends on how bad the foam is that I short the fabric. And then it's the same over here on the other side, kind of looking this way, that I've got a pretty good gap, almost about 1 inch in there, that I short the fabric, and starting to kind of taper it back here almost about 2 inches where I start kind of curving it coming up. And this side may be different than the other side a little bit. Just like I said, the foam over here is different from the other side. And that pretty much covers the straight seat. And obviously, you want to put alignment marks in between the two pieces of foam to help you get these things aligned. And obviously, there is a pull in between these that pull it down, so it'll give it a nice kind of somewhat of a divot in there. Not too much that it'll collect water, but it should look pretty nice. Now on to the curved piece. Again, I also did put alignment marks into here, and these can be obviously two different ways. Sometimes the outside curve is a taller piece, sometimes the inside curve is a taller piece. This one I do have is the inside curve is a taller piece, but I can kind of demonstrate, you know, what would go on in each one. Now again, I will short the curves, I'm sorry, the edges over here with a meat based on, you know, how the foam kind of sits and how much it's squished down. And bring you in close on how I do the curve in the center of the foam. Now, on the straight piece, generally you can just kind of lay it down like this, and you know, you can get a sharp line. But when you start doing that into a corner, you'll get sometimes where you'll have a kind of a little wrinkle into here as it curves down. Now, unfortunately, on this one is almost pretty much flat, and unfortunately, it's the only piece that I have that. But if you have a nice crisp corner into here where you have a good 1 inch you know, difference in height, what you want to do is on this curve, you want to short the fabric a little bit. And again, it's kind of maybe short it by a 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch. You really don't want to do too much more than that, because then it'll start to, you know, pull this down and you'll get a flattened effect. But when you get a nice you know, crisp piece of foam in there, shorting it just kind of in this curved area around into here will allow this to pull down and somewhat flatten this, but it won't go too much. And then to the other side, if this piece here is the taller piece, what you want to do is just inside of the curve, you can short the fabric about a good, you know, 1/8, maybe 3/8, you know, 1/4 of an inch. You don't want to do too much more than that. But a lot of times when this is the taller piece, when you bend it down, you'll start getting wrinkles into this section, and shorting that curve will take care of that, and it'll allow the fabric to stretch and go down in there. Now, that's also generally to the case that make sure that, you know, the pull that goes in here, you get that at the right height. Now I'll show you real quick on how I do that. Now what I do is I measure this distance kind of right where the foam is good. Over here, you know, at the edge where it's kind of squished down, it's not a good measurement. So I take the distance of the foam and I add a 1/2 inch only. I don't add another 1/2 inch for the seam allowance. I only add 1/2 inch. And then when I'm sewing the pull at the bottom of it, I have a piece of plastic that's a 1/2 inch wide that will allow the staples to be held in there. And so pretty much what happens is that you're going to pull this down a 1/2 inch for that seam allowance. You're going to lose it, and that will give a nice kind of a divot here that'll not too much that it's going to collect water, but and it's also going to be even all the way across. I've seen a lot of boat seats when I'm taking them apart, and the fabric is just pulled, and it could be, you know, this thick down here in some areas and this thick, and what they had to do is they just cut a piece of random fabric and they have to pull and adjust to make the seam even all the way around into here, and it's very hard to do. But the way that I do it, I just measure this, add 1/2 inch, sew this to the bottom for the staples, and then when you put the seam in here and it pulls, it gives it an even pull and an even kind of a divot all the way around. That's pretty much it for this video. On the other video that I had with the templating the first boat seat with the flat foam, I went into a lot more of, you know, the Durascrim, you know, the pins, you know, versus the glue if you need to, the spray glue for putting this stuff down. I just wanted to kind of concentrate on the templating of the boat seats with the difference on templating boat seats with different height in the foam. I'll link that other video down in the description if you have any other questions on the complete templating process. But between that video and this one, thanks for watching the video. If you think I've earned it, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future video notifications. Thanks again.